Moving to Australia can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. The Move to Australia directory from Smart Steps to Australia brings together all the essential services you need into one convenient place, making it easier to find the right professionals to turn your dream into reality. Whether you're looking for a trusted migration agent, competitive shipping quotes, guidance on buying your first home, or help relocating your beloved pet, our directory has it all. We've curated the best services to support your new life in Australia. Find everything you need to make your move stress-free, with experts just a click away. Visit directory.smartstepstoaustralia.com and simplify your relocation journey today.
Welcome to the New Life in Australia podcast, hosted by me, Karen Bleakley, founder of smartstepstoaustralia.com. Moving to Australia with my family was a life-changing experience, but it wasn't without its challenges. That's why I'm passionate about making the relocation and resettlement process easier for you so you can enjoy this exciting adventure. Join me and my special guests as we share professional secrets and tips, learn from people who've made the move, and discover businesses that can help you realise your dreams. Now is the best time to create the life you've always wanted. This podcast is here to show you what's possible and to inspire you every step of the way. Let's go.
Let's take a moment to acknowledge the Gubbi Gubbi people, the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which I live, work and play. I thank them for the privilege of being able to live in such an incredible part of the world, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Hey there, welcome to this week's episode of the New Life in Australia podcast. I'm your host, Karen Bleakley, and in this week's episode I've been chatting to Darren from Send My Bag. So Darren's been on the show before on episode 18, and that was a really great episode, so I'll pop a link to that in the show notes. But in this week's episode, we just do a deeper dive into all of the aspects around sending a bag to Australia or sending some boxes to Australia. So you're going to really enjoy it. It's really going to be useful for you, whether you're planning the move at the moment or even it's something that you'll find useful even if you've made the move already, because this is the kind of service that you can find value in even when you've made the move. Because if, like me, sometimes you go back to visit your family and you buy far too many things and you find that you need to ship some luggage back to your home rather than paying the very high fees to have it sent through the airline. So it's really worth having a listen, whatever stage of your journey you're at as well. I know you're going to get a lot of use out of this episode, so I can't wait for you to listen. So let's go ahead and play the episode. Hey there, welcome to this week's episode of the New Life in Australia podcast. This week I'm chatting to Darren from Send My Bag. Now, Darren's been on the podcast before on episode 18, so I will link that in the show notes as well. But we've got an updated conversation for you today. So good morning, Darren, for you, good afternoon or good evening for me. Can you just give us a bit of an introduction to who you are and what your role is at Send My Bag?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me on again, Karen. It is a genuine pleasure. So my name is Darren. I am part of the marketing and partnerships team at Send My Bag. So it'll be 10 years that I'm with Send My Bag this November, going all the way back and starting as a customer service advisor, working my way through to being a supervisor, then handling our quality control. So that would be listening to calls, emails and chats, and then speaking to the team and delivering ongoing training. And then I switched into the marketing and partnerships team, probably be close to 2 years ago now. And yeah, loving it. Absolutely loving it.
Wow. Congratulations on 10 years. I know you've been around for probably as long as I've been around, because I know we've known each other quite a long time from chatting about your services over the years. So can you give us a bit of an overview of the services that you offer, mainly for families who are making the move to Australia? Just what can you do to help them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our service is a door-to-door luggage and box shipping service. So it is primarily for sending the things like clothing, shoes, books, these types of contents that don't typically require any additional packaging when you're placing them inside a box or a suitcase. Perfect, again, for kids' toys. We know how essential those are for big moves, especially big moves for small brains can be a lot. So being able to bring something that is from home or something that feels very familiar can significantly help the settling in process.
Yeah, I know we moved with 3 little kids and it was really important for us to make sure we brought a lot of familiar products with us, a lot of toys and things just to help them feel at home in their new home. So are there any particularly interesting or unexpected items that people tend to ship, or is it like you say, just generally shoes and boxes and clothes and general things, or is it things like golf clubs, surfboards, or something else?
Yeah, I mean, the services can accommodate a significant amount of goods. So, I mean, we have the typical suitcases and the typical boxes, but we also send things like duffel bags and rucksacks. So those might be for more on-the-go individuals that just want to grab and then start their adventure. We can also send bicycles, golf clubs, skis, snowboards, musical instruments. So all these things that the airlines typically have issues with, are these larger items that you wait all the way to the end of the conveyor belt for. We can send those in, free to proof packaging, just make sure they're well protected, and then they can be delivered to wherever you're going, whether that's a golf course or whether that's the start of a race for a bicycle, whatever it might look like for you.
Wow, I didn't realise you shipped bikes. How would you go about packing a bike for transit?
Yeah, we have a full breakdown on the website of how you would do it, but typically what we would advise is you take the front wheel off the bicycle and then you would dismantle the handlebars as well, because ideally for these bicycles you want to try and compact them as small as possible, because the service is based on size and weight. Larger items like bike boxes will cost more because of their size. So if you can make that item as compact as possible by removing the bicycle wheel and the handlebars, that reduces the size and then in turn helps it actually in transit anyway, because you don't have big handlebars sticking out the side. So an additional layer of protection as well.
Yeah. Okay. So if somebody was planning a move and they were going to be taking some things with them, how early should they be starting to plan this in? Is it something that you can organise quite last minute, or do you need to be building it into a few weeks ahead or a few months ahead?
The service is extremely flexible and we can accommodate customers at both ends of that spectrum, whether that may be individuals who are planning ahead for a full year. We have customers who regularly book with us for a year ahead. Their plans are set in stone. They've used the service before and they want to use it again because they know how beneficial it is. But also we are there for that customer that gets packing for their move, and then I like to think of them, extra bag,
yeah. I've been there.
Extra 4 bags. Yeah. So whenever you end up with all these extra pieces, and now the price of airline excess baggage after your first one that you get free can get very, very pricey, especially whenever you try and do it at the airport at the gate, then it's astronomical pricing. Our service is ideal for that, so we can accommodate customers for 24 hours before, have it collected the next day, or customers that want to arrange it a year in advance.
That's good to know. And especially, I know we're talking about making the move, but also for people who've made the move that go back to visit family. And like my husband tends to go overboard with the shopping when we go back to the UK. And then we start trying the day before to put everything in the cases and realise we've usually got far more than we actually meant to have bringing back. So it's good to know that you can at that last minute just kind of ship an extra bag via yourselves to save that money rather than having to pay the astronomical airline fees, like you say.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's very common for customers just to send the extra one, because if you get the allowance with the airline, you might as well use it. Now, the airline allowance might only be like 23 kilograms, whereas an item with us can go up to 30. So that kind of allows you that extra little 7 kilograms of allowance to try and really squeeze every kilogram into that suitcase with us.
Yeah. So what would the preparation look like if I decided I'd overpacked my bag, I've got too many things? What do I do? What would be the best way forward for that? How do I get planning and get on your website and get organised?
Well, really, the best place to start is to identify how many items you actually need to send. If it's 1 or 2 or whatever that might look like. If you have a measuring tape or a set of scales, that's a really good second place to be. That will allow you to get an accurate quote because the price is based on the size and the weight. Now, we know not every customer is going to have a measuring tape in their cupboard, or they're going to have a set of scales, especially when they're abroad and they find that they have this extra bag. So we can allow customers just to use estimates. So let's just say like 50 by 50 by 50 and a weight of 30 kilograms. It's just like a big box. If someone was to use that, they can use those estimates and they can get a price. And all the items are weighed and measured on the network. So we will only ever ask a customer if it's larger than what they paid for to pay the difference that they would have paid at the time of booking. There's no penalty fees involved because why would you? It's just they don't have the measuring tape. What can we do? We still want customers to be able to have an accessible option to use our service. So that would be your first place to start, trying to find out piece numbers and if you have the measurements. If you don't, you can go ahead and use estimates. That will get you a price, and then you'll be able to look at, well, how long is that going to take? That's going to take 3 to 4 working days, or 4 to 5 working days. You can then start to accommodate this in your head and think, okay, well, if I send it on X day, the estimated delivery date might be Y day, and then you can really start to plan it from there.
Yeah, and just my top tip, whenever I travel, I always travel with one of those baggage scales, because we always end up packing too much in bags, and we always have to juggle whose bag's got more stuff in it and is going to go over the weight limit. So I haven't travelled with the tape measure, but that might well be one that I add now to my list of things to pack in my luggage. But yeah, no, I always travel with one of those, because it's really hard to judge when you've gone over the limits on the different bags. So that's always come in handy. Now, one of the questions that I get asked all the time is, should I bring this or should I bring that? And people are trying to really make that decision about what things are worth shipping and what should they take on the plane, what should they put in the container. Have you got any advice about that? Should people just bring all the things? Should they be more cautious around what they bring? Should they try to cull a lot of their stuff and have a big declutter before they bring stuff? Have you got any kind of advice on how you would approach all of that?
I think if it was me, I would just think, what does my day-to-day life look like without this? You know, if I didn't bring it, what does it look like? Or the second question might be, does it cost a lot to replace on the other side? Is it viable for me to just sell everything in my previous country where I'm living now, and then can I just put that money towards replacing this in my new destination country? You know, those are the sort of questions I would probably ask myself. The big picture ones, you know, like if I was to not bring my air fryer, you know, can I just buy a new air fryer and wherever I'm going? Or, you know, is the difference in price between the two countries, like, is inflation a big consideration there, or does it work out better value? Or these pots and pans, are these the really nice stainless steel ones that I want to keep? Or, you know, I think it comes down to just each individual. You know, if I was to look around my house right now and I was to make the move, I think I would be selling a lot, and I would probably be going with the mindset of, I will replace a good significant chunk of all these contents over there. But there's definitely still at least, you know, maybe like 5 or 6 suitcases worth of stuff that I would probably bring with me anyway, you know, because my partner's a bit of a hoarder. I guess I'm a bit of a hoarder to a certain extent as well. But I could certainly live without a significant amount of it.
Yeah, no, it's a good point there. I know my husband's a hoarder as well, and I guess I am a bit more of like personal belongings and things, so they're the things that are harder to let go of, I think, rather than, like you say, your air fryer. An air fryer is just an air fryer that you could buy here or wherever you go, so it's one of those things that you can easily replace. And just looking around on the websites to shop around and see how much the replacement cost is going to be, if it's worth just getting rid of. And like you say, when you've got to factor in the cost of shipping it all, is it worth doing in the first place? And just bringing those really key important things with you. When we made the move, we sent a shipping container, like a full shipping container. We packed up our whole 3-bedroom house, and we kind of made the decision to ship everything in a shipping container, mainly because we had 3 kids under 5 at the time, and the idea of shopping for a house full of everything just felt it would be too overwhelming with little kids. And we just thought it probably didn't cost more to do it that way. Like overall, I think if we'd have had to have bought all the things here if we hadn't shipped it, and we had to pay quite a lot for the shipping costs. So I don't think there was a cost factor in it. It was more for us the convenience factor. But for people who are trying to decide whether to ship a big container of everything, or, like you say, just condense it down into, say, 5 suitcases or boxes, or maybe do a combination of the two, what kind of advice would you give people who are kind of in that situation? They're not really sure which is the best way to go.
I would say non-essentials in a container, essentials with a shipping service like us, or that go in your airline suitcases. You kind of want to hit the ground running, I think, whenever you land in a brand new country, especially whenever you think about the distance that might be involved in the travel. You could be arriving there completely jet lagged, didn't sleep a wink on the plane.
That was us.
Realistically, you really want the start of your new life, in quotation marks, to kind of be off to an easy a start as possible, because everyone's going to struggle to acclimate in some way, and everyone's going to get some homesickness. So I would say the things that you really do care about are the things that you think to yourself, I really want this in my house, my new house. That's the sort of thing that you would put that in that needs to be there when I land. If you're looking at things and you go, well, actually, you know what, we could do without that for a couple of months. That's really not essential. But like, some people love their furniture, and I get it. Like if I was to look around my house, like my furniture is okay. It's okay. Like I don't, but some people's furniture is beautiful. Some really nice pieces, like sofas and wardrobes and side tables, and some people might just begrudge selling that. It might be like, I want to bring that with me, so like starting your new life without your side tables or without your wardrobes. And some of my fondest memories whenever I got my house was sleeping on the mattress on the floor for the first night before you get the bed built. I think that's like, it's like a little routine you go through whenever you get a new house. It's, not everything's perfect or set up the way you want, and it's just kind of fun like that. So I think my move might look like that, where someone else might just want the comfort. They might want to hit the ground running, and I want everything set up as quickly as possible. But my advice is just make do with the essentials, and then the big things will come a little bit later.
Yeah, no, that's some good advice there. And I wish we'd thought about sending luggage as well when we made the move, because we shipped our things and then we ended up with delays with the shipping company. And I think we were in Australia for about 2 months before our belongings arrived. We obviously travelled with our hand luggage, but that was it. And we had a really long, painful wait for all of our stuff to come. So like you say, you move into that house and you've got your mattress on the floor. If you're moving from a house, say in the UK somewhere to somewhere else in the UK, you've got all your belongings still there to put up the next day. Whereas we moved into a house with nothing. It was just an empty house. And we were lucky to kind of meet some friends that lent us sort of their garden furniture to use as a dining room table, and they lent us all of their camping gear to use, crockery and plates and things. So it was a bit of a challenge kind of getting set up without anything in the house at the beginning. So if you were making the move with your own family next month, how would you approach it, or what would be the way that you would tackle things? Would you be, like you said, selling everything, planning some key items in that luggage to send ahead, and then it's all there waiting for you when you get there? Before we start today's episode, I want to let you know about TorFX, an international money transfer service that can be used to move money to Australia or send funds anywhere in the world. TorFX are offering a one-time $100 credit when you set up an account using the referral link available at smartstepstoaustralia.com/TorFX. Here's how it works. Set up your account using the link, log into the TorFX app or online platform, and make an international transfer of at least $2,000 in either one transfer or across multiple trades. Once the transfer is complete, $100 will be credited to your account. It's that simple. Smart Steps to Australia receives a commission if you use the link and go on to transfer funds. This is at no extra cost to you. This is not intended as financial advice. This is just information about the service. Please make your own assessment and do your own due diligence before using any financial service. You can find the referral link at smartstepstoaustralia.com/TorFX. Now let's get into today's episode.
Yeah, I think I would really try and get rid of as much as possible. I think, I would be in the mindset of, let's just get everything out in the garden. Let's just give it away for free. Let's do a big, massive, garden sale, and people can just walk by and pick it up or whatever. Or, the other thing that's really popular at the minute is just stick it up in Facebook Marketplace and say you have to come and pick it up. I think if I was to send a container, I would make probably the last couple of months in the house a little bit miserable, and I would have nothing. and then I would maybe try and align the container move quite close with the arrival. So that is the other way you can look at it. You know, you could really try and get rid of the stuff early doors, like a couple of months before you leave, and you kind of just have the house looking, you know, bare bones. But that means the container would be closer to your arrival in whatever your new country might be.
Yeah.
I think I would probably opt to do it that way because, I mean, with kids and stuff, you know, it's a difficult thought that something that, you know, they go, I don't want that right away, and then you go, well, that's not coming in the suitcase that we're going to send directly there, and then 3 days in, they're like, I want that item, I really wanted that, why didn't you pack that for me? You know, making my children sound like they're shouting at me all the time. They're really not, but it's just, you know, they get very, you know,
especially when jet lagged, especially jet lagged children, they've got no patience at all.
Yeah, so I mean, I would probably, as you say, 2 months is a long time, you know, and you do have to think, you know, again, like chairs and somewhere to sit or somewhere to eat. Don't mind going out and buying new cutlery and new plates and everything. That's kind of, you know, celebrate your new house and we'll get new plates and stuff. But there are certainly things that you would probably want there that are probably too big for a suitcase, but you would want there, you know, sort of quite close to your arrival.
Yeah, no, for sure. And just back to something I just thought of then from what you were saying before about people bringing furniture. Wardrobes is probably not a good one for people to bring, just so that people are thinking about, listening to this, thinking about what they're going to be bringing, because houses here all have built-in wardrobes. So I know a lot of people bring out their wardrobes.
That's handy.
And then they can't get rid of them, sell on Marketplace or anything, because nobody wants wardrobes, because almost every room's got built-in wardrobes here. So it's...
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'd love a big built-in wardrobe.
It is good. Some of them have lovely, big, amazing walk-in wardrobes too. So there's some fantastic house layouts over here. So, I mean, we talked a little bit about moving with little kids. For families travelling with young children, like, what are the practical benefits of this? I mean, I know firsthand what would have been helpful to us and what we didn't do at the time. But what would you say are the practical benefits of sending a bag?
Oh, I mean, I think it has immeasurable benefits to helping a small one settle in a new country. You know, I think there are so many benefits to, you know, bringing toys or blankets, or even, you know what, might be like their bed sheets, you know, like whatever bed sheets they had in their bed back home, bring that, you know, make it so that whenever they get into bed, it still feels like their bed. It might be in a new location, it's still their bed. Again, toys would be a massive one, or you could do comfort essentials, you know, like, while we can't send some food items, you could send things like crisps, so they have their favourite crisps, you know, that they loved back home. For example, over here, it could be Tato crisps, right? Kids love Tato crisps, you could send those and that could be a nice thing. Or another big one is bedtime books. So my kids, we read books every night at bedtime, so trying to fit, you know, like 25 books in your bag to bring with the airline would basically be all of your allowance. So putting those in a suitcase and sending them with us would be very, very helpful as well, because then you're not struggling and trying to find a book they're not familiar with. You can read the ones that they know, and they can just help ease them into that new life abroad.
That's a good idea. And before we moved, we bought a lot of books with an Australian theme to read to our kids at bedtime. And then obviously to bring them over here was a really good idea. We probably did cram it all into our hand luggage on the plane. So we ended up with very heavy, lots and lots of luggage. And for us, when we made the move, we had the 3 kids who were all very small. And we had, I think it was 13 pieces of luggage between us. And so we were kind of so swamped with so much luggage, and while trying to keep kids like holding our hands while walking from being dropped off at the taxi rank, and just to get in and manage that luggage, even with 2 trolleys with 2 adults, it was just nearly impossible with all the kids running around, and it was mayhem and chaos. And obviously things like, are you packaging your buggy, or are you packaging a travel cot or anything like that to pack, or any car seats or anything? If you're kind of traveling with extra bits like that, that makes it all more complicated. So I know that that's one way that we would have, if we'd known about it and we could have sent a few of those pieces ahead, it would have just made the actual experience of moving not half as painful as it actually was. And then landing at the end of 24 hours of no sleep with kids that had been a bit travel sick and hadn't really settled. And then you've got to try and navigate getting out of the airport with this massive mountain of luggage. And we were just kind of, our kids were kind of wheeling their little trunky suitcases with them, and then they'd just drop them and leave them, and you'd turn around and one of their cases would have been left like half a mile back in the airport, and then it was just hard work and exhausting. So I think I can paint a picture that it would have been an awful, I would have paid anything just to have not had that experience when we moved over here. So I think it's really helpful for families from that point of view, from the practical side of it. And also something I was just thinking is, what we struggled with a bit was logistics of getting to and from the airport with that much luggage, with 5 of us, because that was so much. And it wasn't just easy to just get a taxi because we had too much stuff, and we couldn't just get a family member to drop us to the airport, because even if we'd had to have gone in like 3 cars between us with all of the luggage, and it was just too hard. So we had to book like a giant maxi cab taxi with a big luggage trolley both ways, which by the time you've factored in all of the expenses of adding all of that in, whereas if we'd sent a lot of the luggage, it would have probably just taken away a lot of that stress and probably wouldn't have cost a lot more anyway, but it would have been a lot less stressful. So I think for us as a family travelling, it's something that would have been very valuable. So on a practical level, what is it that tends to catch people out the most when they're preparing luggage for an international move?
I think it might be the customs requirements. That would probably be the sticking point, I think, for some people. I mean, we do a fantastic job of making sure that our customers are aware of the requirements to use the service. But for the unfamiliar that have never travelled internationally or sent internationally or moved internationally, it can come as a bit of a shock, genuinely. Their life up to that point is getting on a plane with the suitcase, and that's the end of it. You take it to a check-in desk and you drop it off, and then it just magically appears on a conveyor belt on the other side. That's kind of everyone's experience with airlines if you're not sending your goods around the world. So I think once you kind of get your head around all that and it clicks, I think it all makes sense. But it is certainly something that people kind of pause for 5 seconds, and then they're just like, why do I have to do this? It doesn't make sense.
So what do most people worry about before using a luggage shipping service for the first time? Again, does it come down to the customs and that bit that they've never done before and that is kind of unusual for them to have to deal with?
Do you know what? I actually think it's the lack of control. I think is the biggest thing for customers. I think it's the concept that your items are not going to be by your side, or they're not going to be on the same plane as you. And the thing is, like, these all contain people's personal possessions. These are things that are dear to people. So it's a very visceral feeling you have towards these contents. It's very, very personal, very deep. So I think the lack of control is maybe the point that most customers worry about. Now, they might obviously in the back of their heads also worry about customs whenever we explain it to them. But the idea of these things, like starting their own little mini journey, and getting on planes and off planes and on vehicles and off vehicles, can certainly be jarring. But I think whenever people realize how freeing the service can be for a travel or for relocation, I think it certainly changes their point of view and their thoughts towards their next journey or their next adventure. And they see how much the service can benefit that. Yeah.
And I know for me, my husband works for an airline, so we go staff travel, which means that we have to pick up and drop off our luggage at every point on the journey. So unlike somebody just flying from Brisbane to London, you just normally check it in once and you don't have to think about it. Whereas we end up sometimes doing an awful lot more hops to get back to London. Last year, we my kids and I went from Brisbane to Hong Kong, spent a painful, I can't remember if it was 15 or 20 hours sitting in the airport trying to get on the next flight that was really fully booked. And we eventually ended up having to fly to Toronto from Hong Kong to get to London. So it was 3 full days of travelling just to go somewhere. And at each stage we had to go and pick up our bags, hang out with our bags till we check them back in again. And we had some oversized pieces that we were traveling with as well. So you're not only going to one conveyor belt, you're going to the oversized bag thing as well. And you just, when you have that level of moving stuff around, it just, now the idea of just sending something and having it reach there and you just turn up at your destination and your bags are there, just the idea of that is just bliss, I think, now, because we're just so used to juggling with the luggage as we go. But it's all good fun. We have a lot of good fun stories that come out of all of our crazy trips when we're trying to get to different places. It's definitely something the kids will always remember, doing all of these crazy things.
Absolutely.
So when people are traveling internationally, or whether they're going back to countries for visits, like, when do you come into the picture? What kind of situations are you most commonly used for? Are you a service that, say, somebody who's backpacking might use, or is it more for people who are moving abroad, or is it more just maybe people sending some personal possessions, or is it a real mix of everything?
I think the service is so let me think of the words here. The service is very flexible with the options that a customer has. So, for example, the service started out helping students relocate to and from university, and the service still sees a significant amount of students using us. Every year, every September, we'll get a massive influx of student luggage into the UK or around Europe or the USA, and then around about now, end of May, start of June, we'll start to see all those students now go back home to their home countries, because again, international students are a massive influx to and from countries at these 2 points of the year. So we have international students, we have typical relocations, so individuals who are moving abroad, we have families who live abroad, individuals who want to go and see their families. You have care packages, you have gifts for around Christmas, you have these specialised types of luggage like the bikes and the snowboards and the skis. This year we saw a really interesting trend with ski luggage. I can't reveal too much, but it certainly was one that surprised me between a couple of countries. So the service is starting to be picked up more now for sending these skis, and it might not just be the skis, it might be, well, I'll bring the skis with me on the plane, but all my baggage, I don't want to be carrying that, I'll just send it straight home. So there's more and more uses for the service that are coming up more frequently. I think now the service is predominantly for individuals who are relocating. We are finding more individuals sending more than one bag or two bags these days. It certainly is getting up the number of pieces that people are sending, but the service is still perfectly useful for expats, for short trips, as long as you're not going to a customs country that's a bit whoa, this is going to take a long time. So I think there's a lot of options out there for individuals using the service, and we're either sort of at the the research stage of someone doing their move, and we pop up and they find out about us, or again, as I kind of spoke about, we're in the I have too many boxes or suitcases stage. But the flexibility of what the service can provide and how short notice a customer can place an order allows the service to cover a really wide range of individuals and their circumstances.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned care packages there and sending packages between countries as well. That's a good point, because I know how expensive it is to use the postal service to send gift packages and things to people. So we tend to buy stuff mostly locally in the country online for people as gifts, but sometimes it's really nice to put a package together of Australia products and things to send to somebody, or somebody in the UK might want to put a package together with like Marmite and hula hoops and things kind of in to send back over to us to kind of send stuff that we don't get over here. So that's another good sort of way of using it. And when my husband and I were backpacking years ago, I remember sent a big box of stuff. We'd just been collecting things during our backpacking, and we didn't want to carry it. We couldn't afford the weight to carry it around with us, so we sent this big box of stuff back home with stuff we knew we'd want later, but we couldn't carry it with us at the moment. And again, I remember that costing a small fortune with the post office kind of doing that, but that's the kind of thing that you could just kind of put into a bag or a box or a case and send with yourself. So I think it's one of those really flexible services that you can use when you move, but you'll use it again and again and again for different things as different things come up.
Absolutely.
So what do you see as the emotional benefit of using a service like yours?
I think it's the freedom. Yeah, I really think it's the freedom. I think the service can just relieve you of, an additional weight physically and, mentally. Whenever you first arrive in a country, or if we go back to international students, they aren't going to be able to get cars here and to from the airport. They're going to be jumping on public transport. So if you're an international student who is leaving after a year, you're definitely not just bringing all the things that you brought over. You will likely have spent a year shopping in a new country.
Yeah.
And you will certainly have probably a little bit more than when you first arrived. So let's say that they have to add minimum one more suitcase to what they had originally. So that means you're now talking about an individual getting on the tube, getting on a bus or a train with 3 suitcases, and then that is just a stressful experience for anybody. It doesn't even matter that, you're aged between 18 and 21. Like if it was me now, that is an anxiety-ridden morning for me,
Yeah.
thinking about getting into the train and trying to find a place for my 3 suitcases. So I think the service, has such a weightlifting option for people. It also has the emotional benefit of being able to send something to someone that's personal, like a gift or a care package. If you know that maybe your child is missing home, living abroad, or maybe you just want to do something nicer. Let's say that your son has had their first child and they're now living abroad. You could send a care package through us, and it could be full of baby clothes, and it's a package with love, and I think the service really gives you the option, because then you're not conformed to these small boxes through the post office. You can send these larger parcels, and you can really fill them up with whatever you want it to be, basically. So I think that the service has a lot of options to really give people that good, warm, fuzzy feeling right inside.
Yeah, no, that sounds really good. So what are the most common things that customers say to you after they've used your service?
Well, having a look here, I thought to myself, well, what do they actually say? So I had a look at our Trustpilot page, and I found some common words and phrases that our customers regularly use in the reviews, sort of to give you a bit of an idea. I've just pulled up 6 of them. I'm sure there's far more than that. But a couple of words that really stand out are easy, fast, reliable, customer service, helpful, and again. So that kind of just gives you a bit of a picture, a small picture now, albeit, but gives you an idea of what the service does. It provides an easy and fast way to send your luggage. It's reliable. We have our customer service team that are 24 hours who are helpful, and then these individuals would use us again in the future.
Yeah, and I can back that up by saying that that's the feedback that my audience give to me all the time, because we've got a 5% off link, which I'll be popping as well in the show notes, which people can use to get 5% off their first using of Send My Bag. But the audience are always sort of saying to me how easy it was, how fast it was, how reliable it was. They're all the kind of phrases they use. And I know that as we've been in a partnership for the last sort of 10 years with yourselves, and just customer service has always been really outstanding. That's always been something that I've been really impressed with, because I know I work with a lot of different affiliate partners, and I know that when I send you an email, I'll get a response really quickly. And when you know that customer service part of the puzzle is there, you know that you can rely on you being there to help with whatever happens with your luggage sending. It just really does make the difference when you know that you've got that customer support there behind you.
Yeah, I'm so proud of our customer service team. I'm so proud of them. Like the amount of effort that they put into every engagement and every customer, and it is truly putting the customer at the forefront. We don't have any chatbots or any AI involved in the team. As soon as you call through, you might have to wait on hold, unfortunately, because we are, getting at our busy point in the season. If you have to wait on hold, we will speak to a member of the team as soon as you go through, or whenever an email is answered. Again, it's a member of the team, or one of our live chats. Again, it's the team. You'll always be speaking to one of our team at some point 24 hours across the day. So regardless if it's, Karen's 6 p.m. might be our 10 a.m. or, your 9 a.m. might be our 1 a.m. Someone is on hand to answer the questions of anybody around the world.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful to know as well. So I've got to ask this question. I've always stressed about sending sentimental items, like irreplaceable items. I've always made sure that if I can, that they're in my hand luggage with me, because I never want to put them in a suitcase and have them lost by an airline or anything like that. Is your service suitable for those kind of items? I know obviously you track the suitcases through your system, so they've got more tracking in place than, say, an airline may have in a hold capacity. But is it a good way to send sentimental, irreplaceable items?
Now, sentimental items, I would say it kind of depends on what the sentimental items are. I would recommend against irreplaceable items, and I would still be on the same side as you, and I would say travel with them. If it's, for example, like a printed photo, or something personal, that would be fine to put in a suitcase with us. But if it truly has significant sentimental value to you, or it is irreplaceable on that level, really do keep that on your person. Make sure that you keep that in your bag and you travel with that where you can, based on like airline allowances or whatever you can bring in your bag. Definitely do that, because whilst as you said, the items are tracked, we don't control the network, unfortunately, and the worst thing to happen would be for something like that to not arrive at your destination. I'm definitely a glass half full type of person. Historically, maybe I've been a glass half empty guy, but now I'm trying to switch it and be a glass half full person. And, I would say that the service is absolutely fantastic. And the amount of times that ever happens is so insignificant, that it's really not even worth having the discussion about. But I still wouldn't even take the chance.
Yeah.
I would be like, you just want those. If you want it and it means that much to you, get it in your bag on the plane.
Yeah, no, really good advice there. Now, if you think about customers who are having a really good, smooth relocation experience using your service, is there anything that they're doing differently, or how are they planning things to enjoy that experience?
I think it comes down to time. I think they invest more time into, the move or using the service. They take the time to prepare their bags. They take the time to watch our YouTube tutorials or our TikTok tutorials, the videos that sort of advise what to do, how to prepare your bags, how to attach your labels. They take the time to learn about the destination, so they understand what documentation they're going to need to provide for customs, if there's going to be any fees given in their particular destinations for processing. So while short notice bookings, can work, and they do have a space in our day-to-day shipping, it might not work for every customer depending on where they're sending. So I think customers that have that really smooth experience, it is more of a time thing. They do really kind of soak it up like a sponge, and they want to learn. And they speak to the team as well. I think that's an important aspect. I think some customers maybe just use the service and they maybe never speak to us, and it's great because the service can do that. The service just works. It kind of sometimes can just go on autopilot, and it kind of just works, and the goods are sent and they're delivered, and that's great. But customers that have that smooth experience come through and they speak to the team, and they kind of get that extra little arm around the shoulder. Let me walk you through it and let me tell you everything you need, and that can sometimes just really elevate the experience.
Yeah, and like you say, you've got really good videos and documentation just telling you step by step how you need to put it all together. And it's one of those things that I know people kind of think, oh, it's easy to do, I'll just get on with it. But actually just allowing yourself a little bit of time just to go through that really does make all of the difference, because then it's going to be all done in the right way and all processed correctly and just kind of work smoothly.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So what would be your number one practical tip for somebody who's using a service like yours for the very first time? Does it come back down to saying give yourself some time to watch all of those videos? Is that kind of the best way?
I actually think it's just speak to us, speak to the team, don't be afraid to just pick up the phone and just go, can you tell me about what you do? I'm thinking about going from X to Y, and this is why I'm going. Can you just tell me what I can expect? I mean, we have lots of information on the website for customers that want to go and read that, but not everybody wants to go and read a website. Sometimes you just need to speak to someone just to get a kind of a gist of who they are as a business and kind of what they stand for, I guess. I think customer service gives a significant insight into that. So I would say speak to us. If you're not a phone person, we've live chat and we've email as well. Where you can drop a
I love that. That's me.
Socials.
I'm not a phone person. I always do everything I can to avoid just picking up the phone and speaking. Like my husband will always be the one to pick up the phone and speak to people, but I'd much rather do like a long-winded live chat or something, or go on someone's website rather than picking up the phone. But it's nice to have the different options. So whatever kind of personality you have, you can find a way to move forward with it.
Yeah, and we've loads of local numbers around the world, so people can call us at local rates. It's not like having to call a UK number and pay £1 a minute or something. And we also have VoIP phone as well, so being able to call like through your laptop or through your phone, you can do that as well. So you don't have to worry about actually calling through, like dialing a number. Yeah. It's another option there. So there are loads of ways to speak to us, and I would encourage everybody, just speak to us. The team will answer every single one of your questions to the best of their ability, and that will allow you, the big picture to decide, does it work for you right now?
Yeah. So final question now. We've had a really good chat now, but from everything that sort of you've seen, what's one small decision that can make the biggest difference to how stressful a move feels?
A biggest difference to how stressful a move can feel. I think it actually comes down to your experience. Do you take 13 suitcases and struggle, or do you look into an option to make sure that they go to a destination directly ahead of you? I think that's really what it comes down to. I think all the decisions before that, all the paperwork, everything else is like ultra stressful anyway. Right? So you've had a stressful experience even getting the house and the mortgage and, all the visas and all the paperwork. And then you have to sell your house in the home country. And then you have to deal with all that paperwork. And what are you doing with the car? Are you selling it? You sending it? What are you doing with that? So now you're like 2 days before and you think to yourself, right, well, like we have 24 suitcases here, so what are we doing with them? Are we going to stick them in this container, or like are we going to pack 12 that's like winter clothes, and then are we going to send 12 that are stuff that we need right away? I think that decision can have a massive impact in about 72 hours time for you.
Yeah. And if only I could go back to reorganise that day before we moved. But anyway, now I know that the service is there. That's the important thing. And now I can travel much lighter than, obviously, when you're moving over, you're bringing so much stuff. Whereas now, I mean, I've been back to the UK and just travelled back for 4 weeks with hand luggage. I can sort of, if it's just me going on my own, I'm quite easy and light. It's when the kids get involved, or mainly when my husband gets involved, because he's the one that wants to bring all of the things in both directions. So I'll blame him for all of it. But thank you so much for coming on the podcast again today. It's been really good. I'll pop all of your links. And as I say, we've got a 5% off discount code as well. So I'll pop that link in the show notes as well, so people can click through to get that discount applied to their first luggage that they're going to send. But thank you again for your time today, Darren. It's been really fun chatting to you again.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. It's always a pleasure to come on and have a chat about Send My Bag and about moving internationally. It is something that I know a lot about, and I actually quite enjoy talking about, to be honest. So it's always fun.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So thanks again to Darren so much. It is always a pleasure to chat. It was always so much fun, and I hope you learned a lot in the episode like I did. I know that every single time that I interact with any of the Send My Bag team, the thing that really does shine through to me is their amazing customer service. You really can see that it's one of their highest values, and they're one of those companies that I really love dealing with. As I say, they've been my affiliate partner for a really long time. I've had many, many interactions with them over the years, and I know that many, many people in my Move to Australia Facebook community and readers of my website have used their service as well, and I only ever hear really amazing things about the service and about how people feel like they've been treated during the service, which I think is the most important thing. So don't forget, I've got a 5% off discount link. I'll pop that link in the show notes so you can find out more. You just need to click through that and the 5% off will automatically be applied for the first time that you use the service. So it's well worth giving it a go when you're starting to send your bags abroad. I'll pop all of the details in the show notes, along with all of the relevant links from different things that we've chatted about during the conversation today. So thanks again to Darren. That was a really fantastic episode. It's always so much fun chatting. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you learned a lot during the process too. In the meantime, let's get building your new life in Australia, one episode at a time. Planning your move to Australia? The Ultimate Immigration Checklist Bundle has everything you need to stay organised and stress-free as you navigate this adventure. Get yours today at movetoaustraliatoolkit.com.